Look at that, another full house. Who wants a pretty green shirt signed by Glen Matlock? Woo! When I saw Glen's band at the Electric Circus in 1976, completely changed my life. The way it changed a whole generation of people's journeys, I reckon. You know, so this is going to be the first time I've been back in the same room as Glen since that 46 years ago. So let's have it for the absolute icon, the legend, Glen Matlock. Woo!
Evening. How you doing?
Go on.
Electric Circus, where was it from it? Is it still
Colliers.
there?
It was an housing estate just about less than a mile outside the city centre. The venue's gone. I've often said this, that night was the turning point in my life, and if you hadn't have started with that band when you did, I probably wouldn't be here now doing what I'm doing. You know, doing Spiral Carpets wouldn't have been a thing.
Don't blame me.
No, well, but you know, but when we look at the history of it, you were pretty much one of the main reasons it happened. You know, it's like you were crucial to it, and you were the main man when it came to the music. So
Thank you. Well, we all did a bit, you know. Yeah. So it was one of those things where lots of things came together at the right time in the right place at the right moment with the right people. Weren't necessarily the right people to continue together.
That's rock and roll, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
There's always some Herbert in the band, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's going to be hard work.
A party and asking you get no reply. Just steaming, but I don't decide. I got no reason and so too much. You always find us. We're out to lunch. We're out of lunch. Sing. We're so pretty, oh so pretty. They're done. We're so pretty, oh so pretty.
Let's talk about the bit just before the Pistols. So what was the music that you were into before that? I'm assuming you were big into the Bowie and the glam and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like that stuff, Bowie. But what got me the gig with Steve and Paul was when I told them I played bass and their bass player hadn't been turning up, which was Paul's sister's fiance Del. They said, "What band you like?" I said, "The Faces," and that was their favourite band. And in fact, so much so, I went to the Gaumont State Theatre in Kilburn. Ronnie Wood was doing a solo show, and I went with my girlfriend from school at the time, and we only had cheap seats, and we went up too far. It was dark, you know. Ronnie Wood had sold it out, so they had opened up the top layer. And in the gloom, coming down the stairs, was Steve and Paul and their mates I just met who bunked in over the roof. Right, they was coming through the gloom. So, yeah, they were big fans.
You were working in the shop, weren't you? In Vivian and Malcolm's shop at the time.
Yeah, it was a shop called
Let It Rock.
Yeah. But all people came in. I sold a pair of shoes. One day the door opened and Ian Hunter came in with Mick Ronson.
Did he go, hello?
He did, actually.
Was that his catchphrase? It wasn't.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
And I sold Ronson this pair of pink sort of kind of slip-on loafers, but he had really small feet, right? It's like 6 or 6.5. And I'm up the ladder getting all his box down. We found a pair from him. And then I'm wrapping them up. And I heard a noise behind me. And I looked round, and he's up the ladder. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Well, I've got all these boxes down. You must be really annoyed. I'm putting them back for you. This is like Mick Ronson." Right. Anyway, a few years later on, that movie come out, Ronaldo and Clara. Have you ever seen it? Bob Dylan movie. It's a load of old tosh, really. But in it, there's a scene where Mick Ronson's wearing the pink loafers that I sold him. So I told everybody in Camden Odeon, I sold him them. And they went, shh.
You try to make your mark in society, using all the tricks that you used on me. I read about you, baby, in those magazines, but the clothes you wearing are coming apart of the seam. I'm not your stepping stone. Right, that's your bit, ready? I'm not your stepping stone.
The Sex Pistols happened. That was a big moment in time, again, not just for yourself, I'm guessing, but for the nation. You were suddenly on the front of every fucking newspaper and every news report. It seemed like the world was revolving around your band for a little while, didn't it?
It did, yeah, but then, I don't know, the New York Dolls made an album too much too soon. It was a little bit like that, in a way, you know. And we were young, it was kind of weird. And there you go.
So the Pistols thing for you, it was only a very short chapter, because by Feb, I saw you in December 76, by Feb 77 you'd gone, hadn't you?
Yeah.
To crack on with the rest of your career, which has been very illustrious. You've got a great
Well,
CV.
it's been up and down. Do you know that song? Who's that Irish bloke who goes, "Life is a roller coaster"?
Ronan Keating.
Well, I'm not.
Sorry, I don't know.
I'm not that keen on him, but his song is spot on with my fucking career. I know that.
Well, let's talk about the ups, because you got to work with Iggy Pop, didn't you, in 1980 on the Soldier album. You worked on that.
Yeah. Well, I got brought in. He made an album called New Values. And the bloke who played bass on that, a guy called Jackie Clark, who used to play with Ike and Tina Turner, he was going to play second guitar on the tour, so they were short of a bass player. And my Rich Kids thing was kind of split up by then. Midge and Rusty wanted to become new romantics and wear silly hats. I didn't. Good luck to them. They did well out of it. They kind of maybe single-handedly, with Steve Strange, invented new romanticism. But I wanted to rock and roll a bit more, and then Iggy called me. So that was that.
And co-producing albums, David Bowie, wasn't he? Did you get to work with
No,
Bowie?
he didn't co-produce it. He turned up at Rockfield in Wales and put a spanner in the works. Everybody got really out of it. Steve knew from the Rich Kids, so I got in the sessions.
Yeah.
It's funny, this, right? Middle of the night, everybody's kind of in the middle of nowhere, everybody's a bit racked. And they ran out of cigarettes and there was nowhere to get any there. And Steve New's girlfriend was a girl called Patty Paladin. He used to knock around with Johnny Thunders and made a great album called Copycats. And Bowie followed her up to the room. And he's like leaning at the door like David Bowie, you know, like kind of lounge lizard kind of thing. And Steve followed Bowie up to the door, and it looked, to all intents and purposes, like Bowie was chatting her up. But he was chatting her up, because he was convinced himself she had a packet of Marlboro in her room, but she didn't. Steve didn't know that. He fucking he larruped Bowie and punched him down the stairs.
Dance with me. Can you sing that? Want somebody. Dance with me. Who can sing and clap at the song? Want somebody. Dance with me a little bit. Want somebody. Dance with me. We're getting somewhere.
Moving on to another massive name you went on to work with, you're still working. You're with Blondie at the moment, aren't you?
I'm with Blondie at the moment, yeah.
How did that come about?
Just out of the blue, I'm mates with Clem Burke. Well, dig this, right? I played here and knocked around. Then they had a word with a bloke in the shoe shop down the road about to try and get some single buckle black monk shoes with an apron. He said, you can maybe get them on this thing. Anyway, I know that there. Went to that San Carlo place with Clem. We toured here, I rehearsed.
Talking about Manchester?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were staying down the road and we played the arena here. And so I did 10 dates around here. I've just got back from doing some shows in California and Mexico with them. I rehearsed. And it was only about 5 weeks ago that Clem called me up. So it was all really, really last minute. But I enjoyed doing it. I've always liked Blondie. I played with Clem on quite a few projects over the years. And they're a great bunch of people, a great bunch of songs to play.
Question. Have you ever heard you got the wrong idea, but it ain't the case? No fear, 'cause you know just what's what goes where, lies otherwise. They're from fools clutching air.
Let me just ask you a couple more questions before you go on to your performance. You co-wrote some of those incredible songs back with the Pistols that people will still be hearing those songs, like literally hundreds of years' time. They'll still be on the map. Are you still, do you still agree with the message that was contained within those records?
Yeah, and I always subscribe to that. I don't know the bloke who sang them down the stage. He's sort of taking a strange turn, you know, so it's kind of weird, really. I'd probably more likely agree with what he wrote originally than
what he stands for now.
Maybe. And that was always my problem with John. There was something about him that I think he had a propensity to turn out like he has done, you know.
Well, you know what, I admire the fact you've always been dead honest about your feelings, and he's always been on about the truth and that, and it's good that you spent a lifetime standing by what you believe in your soul and keeping on making music rather than just making punk rock or making new romantic music.
Well, I just like kind of good songs, hopefully, you know, and all my heroes are good songwriters. I think, you know, one of the people I look up to is Ray Davies, you know. I think he's England's greatest living songwriter, or was for a long time. He's such a fantastic canon of work there, you know, and if you come a fifth of the way towards that, you're doing well.
The God save the queen, we mean it, man. We love our queen, oh yeah. God save the God save the queen, 'cause tourism money and our figurehead, you know she ain't what she seems. Well, God save history, we'll save you, man, parade.
So I recommend you get his book, I Was a Teenage Sex Pistol. There's a great podcast as well that you did with Martin Ware. Look that up. It's called Electronically Yours. I think it's Electronically Yours, something like that. It's a really good chat. If you want a real in-depth look at Glen's life, it's all in there, yeah. But get his book, get his records, and support this great man in his tender years.
Thank you.
Support me as well in mine. Thank you, Glen Matlock.
All right.
We're pretty, we're pretty maker. Yeah, I say we're pretty, we're pretty maker. Oh, I say we're pretty maker. Yeah, I say we're pretty maker. And we don't care.
Thank you.